everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Empaths. This is Wanda Vitale. I'm a certified dream builder coach, certified life coach, and I want to talk about triggers today because if you are claiming your freedom, becoming empowered, and you're an empath, you are right now probably being triggered. And I would say that our triggers consistently arise when we decide to become empowered, decide to really become free, right? Which is what I do as a coach, helping people understand they can be, do, or have anything. So what are triggers? Triggers are really unresolved emotional responses from the past. They are decisions that you made, that we each made as a little kid. So, and that just really aren't true. So let me explain that a little bit. So if you're triggered about money, it's so common. If an unexpected bill comes in, you get triggered. Well, what it's doing is this trigger is pointing you back to a decision that you made about abundance and about you. I grew up with the struggle gene. I grew up in a family from way back in Europe, even as farmers. And on the other side, Native American. I'm part Cherokee. So I grew up with these ideas that said money is hard. We don't always have money. It's this very tenuous relationship with money. And then, right? And then we learn from our fathers physically how we're supported by money. So I'm using me as an example. So my father was never there. He was in an accident. And what little I do remember of him, he was just very angry. I couldn't count on him. So many people who experience lack in their lives get triggered when a bill comes in because they immediately go back, like I used to. You immediately go back to a decision that you made as a little kid. Money is hard. What if it doesn't show up? I'm not safe. What am I going to do? Right? Now, as an adult, I don't think that. But because what I know is that I'm surrounded by ideas and opportunities. Money is everywhere. But that trigger, when it comes up, is pointing us back to an irrational decision that we made when we were little. It could be, so it points us back to a situation that's very similar to the one that we experienced as a kid, where we thought, I'm powerless, I'm not safe. What if they abandon me? What if somebody leaves? It could be anything, any trigger. When we bring them to the light of day, they are always irrational. So triggers are asking us to feel the feeling, right? To feel the feeling in the body, and then to decide what's a new belief and to be conscious about it. So if you're triggered about in love, that here's somebody I would love to get to know, but then you're triggered because you don't feel safe, it might be taking you back to a time as a little child when you decided nobody wants me. Nobody wants me, nobody loves me. So what do many people do as an adult? They push people away so that they don't get hurt again. But these are just old triggers that are part of an identity that you formed as a little kid. In this process of awakening and becoming empowered, and certainly in the process of consciously creating a life that you love, all these triggers of who that tell you who you are no longer choosing to be come up. They're not bad. You're not doing anything incorrectly or wrong. We just can't take these parts of ourselves, this little child, really inner child, it can no longer drive the car of your life. So there's no fixing to do. There's no healing to do. It's really just about you deciding, what am I choosing to believe instead of this? Do I really believe that if I get this bill that I won't be okay? Well, we can make a decision. We make a decision that, no, this is just an old belief that I decided when I was 4 or 5 or 3. But we can make a new decision. I've always been okay. You can look at your life. I'll always be okay. And then we start to look for proof, right? We start to look for proof that this happened before and I was okay. This happened before and I was just fine. We use our minds, we use our brains the way they're intended to be used. We use the reticular activating system, which is part of the brain, that actually looks for proof of the new belief. So when you're triggered, it's, first of all, you're triggered, it feels bad. That just tells you it's not true, because if it feels bad, any thought that feels bad is not in alignment with the real you, with your higher self, with the part of you that's powerful. And that's the creator. So first of all, it feels bad. You know it's not true. And then you look back at, what was the belief that you formed when you were little? That life isn't safe, that money is scarce, that you're not going to be okay. And then you make a new belief. You decide again that if it's getting an unexpected bill, you decide, wait a minute, I'm okay. I've always been okay. You look for the evidence. You're the same part of your brain that looks for orange cars. When you decide to look for orange cars, or it's the same part of your brain that looks for anything. If you're going to buy a new car, suddenly you see that type everywhere. I just had that experience. So you use your reticular activating system in your brain to look for the evidence. If it's an unexpected bill and the decision is, well, I've always been okay. Look, I have this money. See, I have this money now. Oh, wait a minute. I have access to an endless stream of ideas and opportunities. And then so that they can show up. And then when the trigger, so use that, make a new decision. And when the trigger comes up again, you may still be triggered, but it comes up like an echo, not so loud and noisy. And listen, I still get triggered. You know, these old deep patterns that we have that said that life isn't safe, that we're not safe, that we're powerless. We inherit these. We saw our parents reacting to life this way. Some people suggest that this goes back, I don't know, I've heard 4 generations back, and I've also heard 7 generations back. So these old ideas just don't poof away. We literally have to make the decision when they come up that this is my opportunity to be a pattern breaker and a game changer, which many of you are, and consistently address that trigger instead of pushing it down. Consistently make a new decision of, wait a minute, I'm not 3 anymore. So we also need to feel the feeling. You know, I'm all about mindset, but it's really not just mindset. It's body set and heart set. Mind, body, and heart work in unison. So we need to feel any fear from the trigger, because when a trigger comes up, it's feeling that we couldn't we were too little to process. Our unformed emotional system couldn't handle the fear. So we just made a decision about what it meant, stuffed it away, and now it's coming up for you to feel, and for you to process, and for you to make a new decision. So feel the feeling. And what does that mean? I used to say, yep, this is my old friend fear. Here it comes. Come on in, fear. Camp out in my body if you need to. I didn't resist it. I just didn't resist it. You don't even have to know what it is that you're feeling. If you feel that you're contracting behind the trigger, put your finger on wherever the feeling is, whatever it is, where it's most concentrated, and just be with it. Don't go into story around it. Don't go into story about, well, I'm feeling this because, or this is going to get better, and I know if I do this, it'll pass. No, that just prolongs the whole, it's called neural pruning in neuroscience. It prolongs the whole process of where your old response that activates fear and contraction in your body, we have to create a new way to handle it. And the old reactive circuit gets pruned away or dies off. It no longer lights up. So feel the feeling. If it's fear, as soon as you have some time alone, feel the fear. Put your finger on wherever it's most intense. And if it moves, move your finger. Be willing to be with it, just like you'd be with a baby crying. You would just hold it until it calms down. And your fear, or it could be anger, it could be any feeling, will subside. And then make a new decision. Like, no, when I get triggered again, I'm not going to believe these thoughts, and decide what you want to have it mean. If it's the unexpected bill situation, make a new rule. Decide that when I am triggered this way, it means that three times that money is going to come in. Because if you grew up with parents telling you that, hey, honey, every time an unexpected bill comes in, ooh, this is what it means. It means 3 times that amount is coming in a very short time, because you are connected to an unlimited supply of love and money. If you would have heard that when you were little, you wouldn't be triggered. So we get to reprogram ourselves. We get to make up meanings. But that's not what most people do. Most people get triggered, don't feel the feeling. They certainly don't trace that trigger back to a decision that was made as a child and then make a new decision. But this is why it comes up. Most people aren't mindful enough to do that. And that's why we slow down and notice what we notice. And I'm sure if you're listening to me, you're doing that. And if you're listening to me, you're using the triggers the way they're intended to be used, which is freeing you up. They're here to show you another way to be that you get to design. Instead of living life by default, you get to live life by design. So instead of thinking that triggers are a bad thing, I want you to know that they're a very good thing. And they're here to serve you. They're a gift. So instead of reacting negatively to triggers, like, oh, here it's again, I've done something wrong, isn't this going to end? Or believing your thoughts that come up, I want you to trace it back to the belief. I want you to make a new decision from the empowered adult that you are. And I want you to celebrate. Your higher mind or your higher self is bringing you situations that will purposely trigger you. because you are a game changer, because you are someone who is here to change the collective by changing yourself. And so we're all being asked to look at the ways that we are still living as that 5-year-old or 3-year-old or powerless version of ourselves. All of us are. I still get triggered. And I cheer when I get triggered. Like, oh, goody, here's a deep one, right? I get to repattern this one. I get to make new rules in my life. Listen, friends, it's all made up. This is all made up. We only experience what we believe on this screen of time and space that we call the objectified world. So we get to decide. We get to decide what's in our hologram. We get to decide the rules for everything. So welcome the triggers. I hope that helped, and would love to hear your feedback. Thanks for listening. And if you haven't hit subscribe, too.